All right, let's test this out here a second. I'm going to
I'm still
unmute
sitting
it.
waiting.
Okay, everybody, let's backtrack here a little bit. We're 4 minutes into this, and Jeff called it out. You're going to check it out. I did an introduction already, and as always, there's something when you do live, something goes wrong. So let's step back here. Jeff, thanks for calling it out. We would have done the whole recording without anything. All right, my name's John Meyer. I'm a partner solutions architect for AWS for cloud management tools. I'm also the owner of the AWS blogger. Feel free to follow me on YouTube and the channel. Today we have AWS Chief Evangelist Jeff Barr joining us. Jeff, thanks for joining us.
I'm super happy to be here, John. I'm really happy we got all the amazing moving parts working to make this happen.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Yesterday, Jeff and I did a live test. It was like 50 some minutes. It was actually pretty cool. We were having a bunch of fun, which was really interesting that, now I clicked start streaming and it wasn't start streaming. It was in a preview mode here happening. So I apologize to everybody. There's always something going to happen or something different, but we're going to go with it and go with the flow. So Jeff, today we're going to talk about evangelism, blogging, and our home office setup. Now, you have a pretty cool setup. I know you couldn't get your camera working. I have a secondary camera that's shooting my setup. I posted some things on Twitter of mine, but if you guys check out yesterday's recording, you'll see Jeff's setup, and we can, touch on that a little bit. So, Jeff, I posted to the audience questions. What would they ask you if they had the chance to sit down and meet you? And I'm going to ask those here in a couple of minutes. But I do have to step back here. And I know I already said this, but we were in preview. Today's my day 1 year anniversary. And I get to sit down with, Jeff here and talk about it, which is really cool and really awesome. And if you take a look at my Twitter post, I posted a picture of Jeff and I, our very first time I got to sit down with him. He took me to his favorite coffee shop in Seattle, and we had a 15-minute conversation. And since then, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've grown to good friends, communicate, have fun, and enjoy ourselves whenever we're doing events.
Totally agree. We have become great friends, and I really appreciate the fact that you came on board and you just sent me an email and said, "Hey, Jeff, I'd love to meet." And when that happens, I'm always happy to meet. And no qualifications, no guardrails, no limits. Just look at, hey, if someone wants to meet, I'm more than happy to do it. But not enough people do what you did and just reach out and say, can we actually say hello? So thanks for having the boldness to do that.
Yeah. So going on to that one, it was either I send the message and, you answer or you don't answer. And, I think you answered relatively quick, being that I was in Seattle only for like 3 days. So it was really nice of you to coordinate, even carve out 15 minutes of your time. And by the way, every time I go to Seattle, I get the coffee. I'm not sure I want to share the name of it unless you do, so I don't want to overwhelm, and give away your secret spot there.
Go right ahead. I haven't been to that part of the city for a month or so now, but hopefully they'll reopen at some point.
Yeah, is it Dilettante's?
That's the one.
Yep, that's it. I was going to say, can I get it? I get the mocha one, like the dark chocolate. I'm actually craving that one. So let's just jump right into it. I hope if it's back open and you guys can enjoy some of that coffee. It's right in there. Every time I go there, I have it. I actually pick it over some other ones. All right, let's jump in. We're doing great on time. I think we have a loose schedule. We have questions, and whatever happens on the show, right?
I'm good with that.
All right. I'm going to check right here. See, I'm going to actually post something in our chat. See if anybody wants to chat with us. Feel free to drop some questions. All right. And we did that one. So feel free to drop some questions along the way. If I can grab them, or Jeff, we will do it. If not, I do have your list of questions that are sitting here. Also, feel free to fill out this survey after the show, because we might have some mishaps during the show, which are always fun to have. Give me your honest feedback. Remember, we here at Amazon, we live on feedback. How can we improve things? So this is really cool to do. All right, Jeff, let's jump right into it. One of my, questions. This is a tough question here for you. What was your first Lego set that you remember you built?
Oh, wow. I wish I could remember that far back, because I think back to my grandmother's house in Philadelphia, and I'm 100% sure that in the 60s that she had a, a bunch of Lego bricks. And this was not that long after Lego was announced, but my grandfather was actually he was kind of like me, an early adopter and a, a geek, and loved tech stuff. And so I'm very sure that I actually had some in the 60s when I was, just under 10. And unfortunately, I remember going back to her house years later, and she's like, "Oh, all those old bricks, you kids didn't want them anymore." And I threw them away. It's like, oh man, how did that actually happen? So
Nice.
yeah. So save your old toys, your old children's toys. They will come back to be worthwhile for your grandchildren at some point, or for yourself.
I think mostly for yourself. Just reminiscing a little bit about that. You know, oh my God, it's funny. My wife does that too. She has a bunch of the kids' toys that she puts away, and then she'll pull them out and she'll like do it at a clothing sale place. And when she pulls them out, the kids are like, "Oh my God, new toys!" No, these are not new. Yeah. So Jeff, what was your favorite Lego set that you've built? Any time frame?
Oh, let's see. Right now, my favorite is the Saturn V, which I have. I wish I could show you in my office. I've got the Saturn V, which is an official Lego set, and then there's a fan design for the launch utility tower that goes next to it, which is about 8,000 pieces that you actually have to find individual vendors and buy those pieces. So I have the launch utility tower, and then I've got the crawler, which is also a fan design, which was another 4,000 pieces.
Wow.
So
4,000 pieces.
I can, right from where I'm sitting, I can see close to 20,000 pieces, but that's a small fraction of what I have in my house. But that's a secret. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah. Except everybody that's watching, all 6 of you. Don't worry about it. You guys can come back to this. This is a fun time for me. Regardless of how many people are viewing, I enjoy sitting down in front of people, talking, having a conversation, really getting to know them, the environment, learning some things about them. So I really enjoy it. In fact, I'm working on some cool ones. I did some Outpost ones out there, and I'm working on a couple other cool ones. So I'm hoping everybody will start to join in and have a little fun with, learning about new AWS services or existing ones. All right, Jeff, since this is pretty much, I want to make this all about you because I have so many questions here. And let's just jump right in this one. Did you ever think that your work would have an impact within the AWS cloud community?
It wasn't really clear at first what was happening. I do remember the early days, how thrilling it was to just sit down at the keyboard and I'd be briefed on something new, and I would write my post. And back in the early days, we didn't have nearly as much in the way of organization or structure. So it was pretty much managing all these requests coming in through my inbox and pretty much accepting every request for a post. And I think not that long, maybe a year after we launched S3, I remember being at a tech conference and being somewhere at the back of the elevator, and 2 developers got on. They were talking about some storage challenge, and one of them just said, "Why don't you just throw it into S3?" And the casualness with which the suggestion was made and the way it was received was like, "Oh yeah, S3 is part of the air. It's just this assumed level of cloud storage." And that was a really impactful moment for me, that said, wow, people are getting this, and they're in a sense taking it for granted that it's there and that it does what it's supposed to, and that they can just use it, not have to think about it. And so that to me was, I think, a really early indicator of what I was doing was actually working to spread the word about AWS.
Nice. It's really good. So I have to go off of that one, and I want to tell everybody: do they know that you actually have your own website, jeff-barr.com?
Oh no, you know how long it's been since I've updated that site?
But going off of that one, and I will post that for everybody. You know what? I'm gonna post that here in the chat.
Sure. Okay.
Uh, I have it. So this is pretty cool. How did I stumble upon this site? Well, actually, I was just Googling Jeff Barr for one of our pub talks that we had, and I came across this website. And Jeff talks about Legos. There's a market for purchasing Legos, certain pieces, and where you could go on and find certain items that you're missing. And Jeff, and in that one, I was looking for what was the first AWS service. So a quote of yours. So I had to. I don't know. I found that for our pub talk. That was one of our challenge questions, and it actually came up into one of my other interview things. So, Jeff, you want to tell us a little bit about your website? And the reason I brought that back in here now is because I came upon it. People might not know it. You might not have updated it, but it gives an insight into you.
Okay, so that site is my personal blog at this point, and it's powered by S3 static web hosting. And I'm very embarrassed to actually have to say that the reason it hasn't been updated for several years is because I broke my personal EC2 instance, and I should have just launched a fresh one. But I kept, you know how when you break something, you always think you can fix it. And it's like, I'll just try this and I'll just try this. And I'd never actually put any extended amount of time. I tried to run one thing and it wouldn't work. I'm like, oh, I'll fix that tomorrow. And then I burned like 3 years of tomorrow, not putting any energy into it. And this past Sunday, my wife was actually out visiting family. And I said, okay, I've now actually got some time to launch a fresh instance and set it up the way I want. And I got most of the way there. And so I do hope to have a fresh post or two up. Oh, I should just promise. I will have a fresh post up before the end of the year. How's that for
Well, knowing how busy you are, the end of the year is probably a tight time frame. I was going to throw it out there to, like maybe before Thanksgiving or whatever. But all right, so we'll quote you on that. By the end of the year, you're going to have a fresh post, and I'm sure you're going to tweet about it. He said he promised. Do you pinky promise?
No, just a real promise. So it's what was that old story about the shoemaker's children not having shoes? Like with all this compute power at my disposal and being able to launch instances in seconds, it's always the last thing I get to is keeping some of my personal tech up to date. Believe it or not, if you want to hear a really embarrassing thing, do you want to hear the most embarrassing thing I can share?
Yeah, of course. That's why we're here. I mean, share it with us.
Okay, so my personal source code control still uses this model called CVS. That's probably it's so old that most of the people watching this have probably never actually heard of it. And my CVS provider finally emailed me and said, we're actually discontinuing CVS service. So now I actually have to move everything to Git. And so that's actually was one of those impetuses to say, okay, I need to wake up and not always put my own stuff last. I have infinite distractions around the house, so there's always some fun thing to do. So doing that has always not quite made the top of my list.
You remind me of me. I the next shiny object. I'm wanting to play around with it. You got me addicted onto the what was it? The flight radar. It's a cool tool. What's the name of it? I get
PyAware.
Yeah, PyAware. That's actually pretty cool. I've got it over here on the side of the house. I've got a couple airports by me. I'll have to share a post about it. It's a pretty cool thing that you get to see, and you see all the planes around you and the responders and transponder numbers and where they're at, flight status, and you can pick your airport. So yeah, I had that for 2 months sitting by my desk and didn't touch it. And I was like, oh, I put it on a checklist. That's when I got it. Sometimes
you have to go from it's an interesting thing to have to suddenly having an actual need for it. With that, I can actually see the city of Seattle from my window. If I just look straight out, I can see the city. And every so often, I'll just see lots of helicopters circling around. And quite often, they're actually from movie studios. And it's quite interesting that I can see I'll see the helicopter out my window, and I'll pull up my PyAware, and I'll take a look. And then you do a little bit of searching with the tail number. It's like, oh, this is from such and such film company. and I can see what they often like to orbit the Space Needle to figure out. I guess they get a lot of good views around the Space Needle. Seems to be one of the most common shots for movies, from what I can tell.
I'm going to have to look at that now. I've seen a couple pictures from your house and that you've sent me in the view of the Space Needle. And you told me the story of how you accidentally came across the house. You mind me sharing it?
No, go right ahead.
So I asked Jeff, I was like, wow, that's a great view that you have. We were talking about our monitors. And Jeff's like, I can't get a bigger monitor, or I would cut off the Space Needle of my view. And he goes, I'm not willing to do that. And I'm like, I wouldn't either. I'd probably move my desk to expand my monitor, but that would be, so I wouldn't lose that. But Jeff said his wife was out showing the house to another couple or another people that were going around, and they weren't interested, but his wife was interested. You guys looked at the house, and 2 weeks later you bought it, right? Is that pretty much the story? Like, it was
exactly
accidental.
We were totally happy with where we were living out in the suburbs, and she called me, and I was still at the office. She called me. She said, come over here right now. I'm at this house, and drove from the office to the house. And she's like, we really have to move here. And I was like, oh, what's going on here? And she was thinking a lot more quickly and more aggressively, as she does, than I do. And before I knew it, we had left the suburbs and we're happily living in the city. And we love the adjacency to all the art and entertainment and food and energy of the city.
Yeah, I think that was a cool story. I was telling my wife this story. She's like, accidentally. I was like, yeah, it just happened. I mean, yeah, 2 weeks later, you just know you want it. So, all right, Jeff, I'm going to jump into more of the questions. Actually, I know the gentleman who posted this one. So the question is, do you own any ties?
I actually do. And in the early days of AWS, getting dressed up with a tie and a really nice shirt with buttons on it was part of what you do in certain environments. And tech culture has certainly gotten more casual. And I was just thinking this morning that I'm a little worried that I don't remember how to tie my shoes, because it's probably been 6 or 7 weeks since I've put on shoes with laces. And I just, in the summer here, I just either go barefoot or wear sandals all the time. So I might need a remedial shoe tying class when we can actually go out to nice events again.
I think my kids just the same. They'll be in flip-flops. I think they're year-round type, or when it comes time to school and my son wears shoes, he's like, these things feel weird on my feet. All right.
I'm worried about leather shoes, and especially if anybody who wears heels and crams their feet into heels, I think they're in for a rude awakening when suddenly after their feet have nicely flattened out and all the muscles have gone back to normal, when they cram their feet into 5-inch heels, it's going to be, oh, this hurts.
They're going to have to reform their feet again, build up those calluses again to support it. So
I think my wife's phrase for that is, she said, beauty is pain. I think that's the way she describes it.
Yeah, I think I'd go with comfort.
Me too.
All right. So Jeff, going back on there, who provides you the details on new products before blogging that to the world?
Okay.
What's the process?
So the process is that we have a standard document around Amazon called a PR FAQ. It's a combination of a press release and a frequently asked questions list. So this is the common way that we share information about new launches at AWS. When anybody wants a blog post written, it's just utterly understood that the way that you convey the information about the launch is to simply, you create a ticket and you attach the PR FAQ document. So one of the models that we have at Amazon is we call it start from the customer and work backward. And so what that means in practice is that when you are tasked with building something new, the very first piece of material you need to create and perfect is the press release, with the idea being, until you can understand the problem, understand the customers, understand how you'd like to solve the problem, how you want to describe the solution, what you want to name it, how you want to price it, until you know all those things and you can compact them down into the page and a half of a press release, you're not ready to actually move forward to the next step. So getting to an accurate, acceptable, approved press release is a huge piece of the initial work. And at the as part of the process, as you're asking yourself questions, as your initial teammates are asking yourself questions, as anybody in the org is asking you questions, you capture all those questions and you build up your FAQ, your frequently asked questions. So this will, taken together, that will provide, I'd say, about 80% of what I need to write the post. The rest is either asking some individual questions of the team or going hands-on with the service where possible.
Nice. I'm going to play around with OBS here. I'm going to switch screens. Jeff, right now, you and I know you can't see it right away, but we're sitting in the spheres. I got a nice image here of the spheres, and we're sitting up top and we're looking down. It'll refresh. I hope everybody enjoys the different view that I'm going to throw around. I just have to play around with some of it. So there, it just hit you live.
Oh, there we go.
So going off of that question, all right, there was one here. Have you ever not blogged because the product had issues and you suggested to go back and fix before launching?
Yes, actually. And one of the things that we get to do as bloggers is we're representing the customers. And at a certain point when we are making use of these services, and sometimes it's not a matter of the overall quality of the service. Sometimes it's a matter of getting the final details right on the console and the messaging and so forth. So we will very occasionally, this is a 2% time, we'll go back to the team and say, we know you've made a massive amount, you've done a lot to get this ready to go. You're really close. Here's a couple of things we think you should take care of before you are ready to go. And the teams are very respectful of the fact that as bloggers, we're not simply taking what they give us and writing about it, but we have the customer's best interest at heart, and we will give the team feedback to make sure that it's as perfect as possibly can be.
Yeah, so I really like that one. I know a little bit ago, one of the releases of Snow Cone was going to come out. You were talking big about it to me, and then I waited and we pushed it back. And I think you guys were working on the video for that. That's why it took a little bit, because that video was awesome. I liked it. In fact, I'll probably duplicate some of the aspects of it there, the interaction. I think that was just the nature of us working from home and what we've learned to do.
It was really fun to work with Bill Voss to make that video. And I think that was one of my first indicators of just how powerful all of this video technology is. And that without having a video crew in my house and without being a subject matter expert and just taking a bunch of interesting stuff that the Amazon video team sent me and plugging it together and doing a little bit of experimentation to understand it, it's the realization of just how much you could do from your desktop, literally from your desktop. I've got a camera right here on my desk. I can just reach up and reposition it. And as you know, the camera plus our internet bandwidth plus OBS and all these little tools that we plug into it and our Stream Deck, suddenly we've got a lot of control and power at our fingertips that I'm just really thrilled by.
Well, you know what? That's a perfect segue into our home office setup. Jeff, you were talking about it. You have, your camera. It's probably a nice HD camera. You've got a green screen already set up. By the way, I saw your green screen. I like it. I've kind of took some of your notes on that one. The other stuff. I mean, Jeff, talk about your setup here. What does your home office setup look like? And maybe I can dig up the picture of your home office and get it onto the screen since your other camera's not working.
Yeah, let me actually try that other camera one more time. I'm going to try to focus in and see if it works. And it doesn't.
No problem at all. You know what, Jeff, while you're doing that, since we have all these tools at hand, I'm going to play around and see if I can find the picture of the one that you sent me.
Okay. I know I've tweeted it once or twice. So let me describe what I have as far as tech equipment. I've got a reasonably powerful PC on my desktop. I've got a 30-something inch curved monitor. And let's see, I use Amazon Workspaces as my primary working environment. So pretty much what I do is I boot up my PC, I launch the Workspaces client, and I log in with that and do almost all of my work through Workspaces. And let's see, on the hardware side for video, I've got a let's see what I have. I've got a GoPro Hero. I have a nice teleprompter that fits on top of that. I've got a light ring. I've got the green screen behind me. I've got a USB capture HDMI device that takes the output of the GoPro and turns that into a video stream over a USB connection. I forget what that's called. Encoding. Yes, that must be encoding.
Yeah.
And on the software side, I run OBS and Virtual Cam, and then we're making use of OBS.Ninja today to bring all of this together. And a little clip-on microphone. I don't have a fancy podcaster microphone like you do.
So, Jeff, I got your home office set up here. I'm going to bring it into our screen.
Awesome.
All right, there we go. I'm going to cut off our heads there a little bit. It doesn't matter, so people can see some of it. Let me see if I can move it down a little bit. This is awesome. I mean, these are one of the technologies we have. There we go. All right, so on the screen here, you see Jeff's setup. I'm actually going, you know what, Jeff, we're going to be sitting in your office in a second.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
There we go. And I'm going to move it up a little bit so everybody can see it. Yeah. Perfect. I zoomed in. Now we're sitting here in your office instead of spheres. I changed it around. I do have some other backgrounds I'm playing around with thanks to Jeff. So Jeff, now that it's fully on your screen here, did you want to talk about anything or show anything? I mean, you kind of walked through it, but now people can visualize it. And is your Lego thing in the screen?
Yeah, let's see. So some of my Lego is on the screen there. I've got a couple things hanging from the ceiling. What else do I have? I've got lots and lots and lots of parts, and my Lego hobby of building things has morphed a little bit into a hobby of collecting and organizing for a bit. And I think I'm finally organized to the point where I'm ready to start doing some really big builds. What else do I have there? It's interesting. Just lots of good books. I actually kind of culled out a lot of my books when I moved and kept more of the really historic ones that were either a significant point of history or something significant in my career that I thought was just kind of worth keeping and as a good touchstone back to the past.
Now, Jeff, I moved the image over a little bit because we were kind of cutting it off. Jeff has a teleprompter just as well. In fact, I got one of those. Jeff did actually a pretty cool thing for your GoPro, little ingenuity that you shared for it. I guess what, like a cardboard cutout you did for it, since the fit in there. You want to?
So I do AWS What's New videos every week. I'm doing them every week now. And before I had the teleprompter, I tried a number of different ways to make sure I knew what I wanted to say. And it turns out that when you're watching a video it's really important to be looking directly at the camera, to be speaking directly at the camera. Otherwise, when you're kind of looking at the side or even just a few degrees up and down, we very quickly realize that the person is reading or not focusing on the screen. So I just took a piece of cardboard and I printed my lines on it and I cut out a little hole and just put that on the GoPro, which worked reasonably well. But then we upgraded to a really legitimate teleprompter. It's pretty neat in that I actually put the text on my phone, and then I have a USB keyboard down under below that I use the arrow keys on the USB keyboard to just drive the text up and down.
Nice. I have a similar setup. I actually got an iPad on mine. I'll show a screenshot or a screen of mine, actually a live view of mine, but in a little bit. But same deal. I have it there, but I didn't know about. I'm gonna have to remember that you're using the USB keyboard to move it up and down, so kind of make it flow with you.
Teleprompting is one of the hardest skills I've ever tried to learn, and the way that we would do it back in the studio is that they actually would bring in a person who would also come with their teleprompter, and they would set it up, and we'd give them the text, and they basically try to scroll the text at the speed that I'm reading at. But it's very hard as the reader to realize that you are actually in control. And so as that text is going past, you just naturally go faster and faster to try to keep up, because there's this fear it's going to scroll off before you've seen it. And mentally, it's really hard to say, I'm the one in control here. If I speak slowly, it won't disappear so quickly. And you get into this like negative feedback loop where you go faster, so the operator thinks you want to go faster, so they even turn the knob up and it goes even faster. So we've been a long time in the studio trying to make me not awful at teleprompting. And I got reasonably good at it, but now being able to control it myself and just setting up a couple keys so that I can very inobtrusively just use the arrow keys up and down, having that control made all the difference. It has made it a lot easier to record videos.
Yeah, well, now with everybody at home in the last like 90 days, we have learned so much. I can't say we've gotten to be experts, but things are changing. What we're doing, evangelism, blogging, all that stuff is changing with the new setups and how we're handling things and being able to produce the same quality at home and to help customers a lot more. I mean, Jeff, what are your thoughts with the new product, how we're doing things now?
Oh, I'm blown away by how quickly we've really, to me, adapted to this new environment. And when suddenly, as developer advocates and evangelists, we learned that we couldn't go anywhere, we didn't say, oh, well, I can't do my job. It's like, well, how can I do my job in a new and different and innovative way? And suddenly being able to, from your desktop, not just do adequate video, but to do what I think is pretty high quality video, both the quality of what we have to say and the quality of how we produce it, and how we can not just do a raw video, but as you're doing, you're switching between backgrounds and you've got multiple tickers on the screen. This is very approachable and very easy for someone new to learn, and to go from I'm just sitting here in front of a camera to I can look, I think, reasonably professional. And you can really exercise your creativity in a way that I didn't feel I could do necessarily in the studio, because I didn't even know what the controls were and what the things, the options I could ask for. When you have the tools in your own hands and you've got all these buttons and sliders and all this creativity exposed, you say, oh, let me try this. And as I showed you yesterday, I put the Winamp music visualizer behind me for a little bit.
Yeah,
and
that was
definitely a neat special effect.
Yeah, it was. I really like that. Now, before I take more questions, I think I'm going to do your surprise here. I think I'm going to try. So we're going to try something. Jeff, I have here in my hands a belated birthday gift, okay?
Oh, wow.
I'm going to try something, and I'm really hoping it works for me. Give me 1 second. And all right, so I have just scheduled a pickup, and we're going to try to do this in like 90-second prime or less than. Let's see if it works. Jeff, I'm going to hand this off and send this out to Prime here, and hopefully in like, less than 90 seconds, it will be delivered. I'm not sure. Depending on the timing of things, depending on if the internet works. Everything good, Jeff?
Nothing has shown up just yet.
Nothing. All right. We're hoping for it.
Oh, here we go. Oh.
Jeff, you got a Prime delivery like that. Wow, that is really quick.
Wow, and the best delivery person ever.
Yes, I work for AWS Prime Delivery.
A little bit.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Wow, this is awesome. Okay. All right. Give me just a second to get my knife so I can unpack this. I shall be right back.
So
luckily I wore pants today.
I'm going to put you just on the screen then. So I'm going to get things set up for just you.
Okay. Awesome. All right.
Give me 1 second here. Let me get
Ever.
I know, right. Let's see here. I've got our chat going on there. Well, we'll just stay on split screen, but we'll put it just over there because I don't feel like changing things around. So, how'd you like that delivery?
That was so cool. So fast. All right. Some great Tony's chocolate. I love chocolate, and I love Tony's.
Yes, I heard.
Thank you. Last time I was traveling, I was actually my last trip I took was in the Nordics, and this was actually really popular in Denmark, if I remember.
I have never tried it. I will have to either, save me a bite for the next time I'm out in Seattle, and we'll have it then.
It's actually it's made in Belgium. That's why it must be so popular in the Nordics.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll have to order some. All right, Jeff, what do you got there?
Right. Official Deep Racer hoodie. Oh, awesome. This is cool.
I heard you like the zip-up ones, and obviously I picked purple.
Yes. Very, very nice. Thank you so much, John. This is awesome.
Yes. So happy belated birthday. I was hoping to give this to you 2 days later during our live interview, and I was really, really stressing out and hoping that, it worked. But, hey, better late than never.
I'm impressed that a package showed up at my house that I didn't actually know about.
I'll tell you how it got there after everything.
I usually know what's going on, so.
Yes. So, all right, let me spoil how I did this. One, I have to thank your wife, Carmen, for being a cohort in all this. I have to thank your daughter, Tina, because she was the receiver of the gift. And I sent it to her, and she did all the other packaging, made sure I had the same exact box here on my end. And she put the stuff in there for me, and she held on to it. And then she got your wife involved. And so, yeah, I'm surprised they kept it hidden in the house that you did not find until then.
Very impressive. I'll definitely thank you for making that happen. I appreciate the effort to do that. And it's just about time for a fresh hoodie. So it's a little bit warm here in Seattle right now, but it'll be chilly again before too long. So.
No, in Seattle, it might dip down into the 55s again shortly or something,
Yeah. Now, the funny thing actually about home offices that nobody tells you about is when you have all this equipment, it actually consumes a reasonable amount of power and does generate some heat too, right? The lights and all the GPUs they're a good heat system.
Yeah, I completely agree. Mine's got a double door here, so I always leave it open. But I was looking at a couple of items for you. I heard you're really big into 3D printing, so I was looking at it, and I did find out what printer you have, and I was looking at some items for it, but I wasn't really sure what you needed and how well it would be and what you were working on currently. And then you're always helpful to support our Deep Racer events. When we did Underground Deep Racer, this Friday, you're also doing joining our Deep Racer event for AWS interns, and we're having a cool event here hosted in my basement. So I was just like, you know what? This is what Jeff needs. And I was back and forth with your daughter, and I was like, what about this? And she said you like the zip one. So I was like, I got it. I got the perfect gift.
Wonderful. Yeah, funny that you mentioned 3D printing. I bought the printer just because I wanted to understand about the technology. And to me, one of the secrets about any new technology is you should never wait for it to be really mature and pedestrian before you start learning about it. You should always jump in and get some level of experience with it early, and then try to appreciate how it changes and improves over time, so that you can actually get a little sense of that trajectory or that vector, if you will. And I bought the printer just for fun with no actual problem to solve. And the funny thing is, once you start saying, well, I can define something on my screen, I can just think of I can see an issue around the house, and I can just invent something, and I can solve the problem by just sketching something and printing it. You're like walking around like, there's a thing there. I need a bracket. I need a connection. I need whatever. And I just happen to have, I didn't even know we were going to talk about this, but I don't know how well you can see this. This is a little bracket in the process of building. This is a prototype I sketched out in 10 minutes yesterday and printed in the course of an hour. We're doing some work around the house, and they had to put a pipe that went from, basically because our house is vintage, they had to put a pipe that went through some brick and then under the garage, and they left a hole, and the hole they made a little bit too big of a hole, and I couldn't find a nice gasket to fit it. So I thought, you know what, I can just design this nice little pair of pieces that I can just bolt around the pipe and then screw into the wall. And I made the nice holes there so I can put, and this was less than 15 minutes of thought and sketching out on the screen to make happen. And suddenly I'm like, I can make anything I want if I can think of it in my head. So suddenly that empowering technology, and this is something I actually made a little video I share with my grandchildren, and just to show them, here's how you can go from an idea to a design to printing it. I walked them through the fact that sometimes you try these things the first time, they don't quite work. It's okay if you make a little mistake. I think we should acknowledge when we're talking about these things a little bit about the fact that the first one doesn't always work quite right, and it's okay to fail. It's okay to experiment. Just try it out until you get to where you want. And too often I think we only see the successes, and we don't always get the story along the way, or of how you tried a couple different ways before you found the one that actually works.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool story what you did there with the 3D printer. I'm obviously my OCD here is like, oh man, I want to play now, and I want a printer. I just though have to keep telling myself no. Don't get it until you finish the other current projects. But I was like, all right, I've looked at a couple, and I'm just like, I want to play with them. Okay,
so here's the way I think about that. Is that I suspect within our brain there's some little part of it that is I think of it as the that's interesting filter, and it's set to somewhere between like 0.9 and 1.1, and if it's set to 0.9, you'll eventually run out of things to be interested in, and you'll just be really, really bored all the time. But if it's set a little bit better than 1, then you're always going to have a few too many things that are of interest to you, but you'll never be bored. And even if you never get to all the things, you'll get some appreciation from them, and maybe they'll play off of each other. One of the things that I love about 3D printing is you put a little bit of time into design. You load your sliced file into the printer, you set it off to print, and then you just, if all goes well, which probably 95% of the time it does, then you come back in an hour or 2 hours or 5 hours, and there's the thing you printed, and it's just all set. So it doesn't need continuous attention. Although watching the printer is really hypnotic, I have to say. And sometimes you can just sit there just like, and it's actually kind of it's very soothing and hypnotic to watch the printer just going through its paces.
All right. Man, you know what? We could probably do an episode just on 3D printing here on some of the things.
So
eventually I'll probably get one.
Think of it as that you need to teach your children. Is how
yes, I agree. So I got about like 10 minutes left here. I am so at 5 we'll probably end this. I am hosting the Live Cloud Ops Summit that Jeff did a guest speaking opening remarks to. This is the second one, so I'm doing it right after this. So I have to just jump right onto that call and do opening for that one. So it's a tight schedule today.
It is, but isn't this powerful, the fact that you don't even need to leave your chair and you can do all these different things? And back at the office, just going between meeting rooms and going up and down between the floors and elevator, a little bit of friction. And now just the comfort of our own desk and office and having everything around the way we like it. I'm pretty happy with that kind of setup.
No, I agree with you. Mine has gotten better. In fact, real quick, I'm going to switch over to mine, and then I'm going to ask Jeff like 2 more questions here. Jeff, give me 1 second. I got to get you into the screen because you won't be able to talk. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to show my home office setup, and I got to add Jeff. So give me 1 second. It will only take a second to add Jeff into it. I'll just say split screen here. All right. Jeff, you there?
I'm here.
All right, perfect. We got don't mind all this stuff. Yes, Jeff's head's going to float around here. Actually, I'm going to pull him up over here. Do it. So my home office setup right now, I'm running another laptop with OBS Ninja. You can see my teleprompter, my screen. I have a podcaster sitting on there, my Stream Deck. Right next to this camera, I do have my GoPro set up. Thanks to Jeff, because he did our first pub talk here with a GoPro, and I got addicted to it. And I do a lot of Jeff, sorry, your head's right into the live thing there. I'm going to move you down. I apologize. Actually, I can move you up over here. These are always fun things. I didn't transform his image on this one. I just wanted to bring him in so that you can hear him talk. I have my questions that we're going to ask the audience, but this is my entire setup here and my green screen. So Jeff has a green screen that comes from the ground up Mine actually pulls down like in your old school, like in school where you pull down the white screen. This is a green screen right behind me. I am sitting on a green sheet, which was my old green screen, so I could hide my chair during our conversation.
This is such a simple piece of equipment, but the whole idea of the green and then the chroma key filter is so powerful. And the fact that I'm sending you green and you're doing the compositing on your side, I think that was one of our little innovations that we figured out together as we were getting ready for this, that we were trying to figure out how can we be in the same room. We were initially trying to align the same background image, and then we said, hey, why don't we just send the green and on your side, you can then replace the green with the background.
Yeah, I think that was fun. You and I were playing around with that when OBS in my streaming didn't work the last time. We actually played around with that using a different software. And then in this time in our trial run, you and I definitely, we were just like, all right, let's see this, send the green. And we were moving things around. Yesterday, we had lots of fun live. I mean, if you want some humor, check out our last one yesterday, totally unscripted. We were just talking and just having a bunch of fun. And there is a point where I forget to enable audio on the browser. Yes, it's on my to-do list now to make sure that I check that little box that says enable OBS to control audio.
All these nice little moving parts. Now, you know, when we talk about these big distributed systems and we talk about reliability, and if you study reliability and you say, well, we have this long sequence of dependent things, and you multiply the availability of each one, right? So it's 99.9 something, and you multiply a bunch of those together to get the overall reliability or availability of the system. Nowhere does that become more obvious, I think, than when we're connecting up all these different moving parts, each of which are, I think, very reliable, but we have this like 10, 20, 30 moving parts, each of which are 99.9% reliable for us. And occasionally things do go wrong. And
Yep.
it just says what the engineering work you put into to raise the number of nines in something, each one of those contributes to the overall reliability of the finished product.
Nope, I agree with you. We've added on over and over and tested this out. Jeff, I'm going to take two more questions here and keeping track of the time. I got one. When we were talking about the new method, the new work from home stuff, do you think things were going to return to, I don't want to say normal, but how they were? Or have we developed a new way that we're working from home or doing more remote meetings from home, and things are more efficient? What do you think the new norm might be?
I think everything's going to be different, and my sense is that for a lot of us, and we have to admit, we have a real privilege here that we do tech jobs where we can do these remotely. I suspect that it's primarily going to be work from home, at least for me. I'm going to probably plan on 4 out of 5 days work from home. And then if there are very specific reasons or justification for going into the office, I'll certainly go. It's a 35-minute walk for me, so it's not any kind of a big challenge. But I think we have to respect our health and respect the health of our colleagues when we're thinking about going into the office. Oh, I see a question from David about, is Jeff sitting on a space hopper? I'm actually sitting on a yoga ball.
So I was going to ask that one. That was in one of your pictures. But I was like, wait, how is he sitting on that? If that's the picture. Yeah, we weren't live in that one. You were sitting on it. And so that was.
It's actually very comfortable. Back years and years ago, I had a bunch of back issues, and my son Steven actually bought me a yoga ball to help me keep my back strong, and my back's been really good for the last 2 decades, and partly due to getting the problem repaired, but also just having the yoga ball keeps my back very, very strong. The funny thing is it does make reproducible video shots a little bit tough, because your chair is probably in a very fixed position in your office and you explicitly move it. The yoga ball, every time I get up, it just rolls to some other part of the office, and so I don't have a way to actually fix it into a specific location.
I think they make like holders for it that you can like a coupling, a 3D printing. No, I'm just kidding.
I actually do have this little inflatable ring, but it reduces the flexibility for me just to actually get and it's kind of neat just to keep my balance and just to be able to rotate without having to move my chair. And it's
Jeff,
very comfortable.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's very comfortable.
So, Jeff, before I do some closing remarks here, do you have a closing remark or anything you'd like to say to the audience? Even myself, I mean, this has been fun.
This has been super fun, and I would encourage you just to all the different technologies that we've mentioned here today are streaming video cameras and OBS Ninja and creating content from home. It's actually really, really fun, and I'd encourage people just to try it out. And if you've got something interesting to share, this is the perfect time in the world to do it online. So jump in. Feel free to reach out to myself if you have any specific issues or questions, and maybe reach out to John as well if you want to know a little bit more. And we're not experts at this, but we learned it both pretty quickly. And if we did it, you probably can too.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I got like 2 minutes here to say some closing remarks because I have so much to be thankful for. First, I got to thank you, Jeff, so much for this interview, this chat. It's not even an interview. It's just a casual chat, you and I sitting down. Really thank you for taking the time. Yesterday, you took an hour out. I think we only slated like a half hour. You and I were just having too much fun to stop of our time to do the dry run today to answer questions. Now, if we didn't get to everybody's question on that, that just leaves more for later. I mean, obviously, Jeff and I enjoy doing this. And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. If we do that, we'll probably do this again and maybe answer some more questions and have some, learn new things to share with the audience.
I'm totally game for that. This was really fun to get set up and to do, and I think it was a wonderfully worthwhile use of my time. So thanks for doing it.
Yeah, I'm going to do a recording, a post for OBS Ninja. There are some stuff out there, but I'm going to talk about what Jeff and I did. I'm also going to be using the tool here for our event here on Friday. I got to thank your wife, Carmen, your daughter, Tina, for joining me in this effort, that it worked out so perfect. And the fastest Prime delivery ever recorded, literally recorded. Don't quote it. And no, sorry, nobody else can get this delivery stats for that one. I got to thank the audience, you guys, who make this possible. I think I found a new passion or a new thing that I'm going towards. I really enjoy the audience, helping people, learning, educating everybody, and just providing something to it. So thank you, everybody that's posted questions, joined us, going to watch this later. That's all I've got. Jeff, thank you so much for your time again. And I can't wait till we do this again.
Same here, John. Great to see you. And thank you all for listening.
Yes, thank you so much. And hopefully when I press the stop record, it actually stops recording. So you never know what works. And we press stop recording. So let's see if this actually stops. Waiting for it to stop in my stream. Dun, 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 dun. Excellent. Thank you for catching that not recording or not streaming live. It said preview, and I don't know why, but I even tested it 3 times.
Oh, man. I do like what you were saying about having a checklist. And I think there's probably a more and more interesting checklist that we can put together every time when we do this.
Yep. All right, waiting for the end stream, and we're probably about a 20-second delay. There we go. Waiting for it, and
every time when we do this.
Nope, and we're still streaming. I'm going to stop.
Where are all those bits?